Today, the White House is stressing there is, quote, no holdup despite President Trump not signing a single trade deal since he put that 90-day pause on his so-called reciprocal tariffs earlier this month. In the meantime, the president is reiterating his goal of using tariff revenue to dramatically overhaul U.S. tax policy.
We're going to cut taxes for the people of this country. It'll take a little while before we do that, but we're going to be cutting taxes. And it's possible we'll do a complete tax cut because I think the tariffs will be enough to cut all of the income tax.
Yes, he actually said that. A complete tax cut, wiping out income taxes, paid for by tariffs. No trade deals, no math, just vibes. Trump just said he can fund the entire US government without income taxes, using tariffs alone. But here's the problem. It's not even close to possible. Let's break down this bold claim and expose what's really going on. Hit subscribe for more brutal takedowns of political fantasyland economics. No fluff, just facts. It all kicked off with Trump's declaration that he could use revenue from tariffs to eliminate income taxes altogether. Standing confidently, he said,
and it's possible we'll do a complete tax cut because I think the tariffs will be enough to cut all of the income tax.
This wasn't just a vague idea, Trump pitched it like a done deal. In the same breath, he pushed a tax cut as a fix-all for the pain Americans are feeling under inflation and rising prices. With trade deals stalled and zero new agreements signed since he paused his reciprocal tariffs earlier this month, this tax cut bombshell felt like classic distraction politics. And the White House, they're spinning hard. Despite no progress on trade deals, zero signed,
quote, no holdup,
they insisted there's, quote, that's when the fantasy began to crumble. Trump's economic narrative hinges on the illusion that tariffs are a magical revenue source. He didn't just float this casually as he doubled down hard.
We're going to be taking in a tremendous amount of money. We're going to be taking in a lot of jobs, a lot of plants and factories. They're already coming. I mean, you see it.
But here's the problem. None of that is verifiable. And his own administration has zero trade victories to point to, not even framework.
Likewise.
99 days, a trade deal is a problem that we're
Even Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, trying to throw a bone, said a deal with India could be first. Keyword could. That's speculative fluff, not policy. Meanwhile, Trump's claim that tariff revenue alone can replace $3 trillion in income tax revenue is being ruthlessly shredded by economists. But he still insists.
The president is doubling down.
That's not a plan. That's delusion. Economists didn't hold back. CNN's Matt Agin dropped the bombshell fact check live.
Country, it'll take a little while before we do that.
And here's why. The US brings in $3 trillion from income taxes. Tariffs currently bring in a fraction of that. To replace that revenue, tariffs would have to hit 100% on all $3 trillion in imports, 4 times higher than current rates. But wait, it gets worse.
$1 trillion of US imports. That's about 4 times higher than current tariffs. And that would increase prices on imports of everything from...
What happens when you jack up tariffs that high? Prices explode, demand collapses, imports dry up, and then you don't get any tariff revenue at all. Economist Erica York from the Tax Foundation didn't sugarcoat it.
$175 billion of revenue.
And that's before you factor in the inflationary gut punch this would deliver to everyday Americans.
Tariffs. He definitely owns when you go to a car dealership and find that something that might have cost you $40,000 6 months ago costs $55,000 and is not.
Not Biden's, not the Fed's, not the markets, his. And while Trump teases tax cuts for people under $200,000, here's what that really means.
Increase prices that much, it would destroy demand. So people would just stop buying some imported goods, and that would shrink the tariff revenue. So Torsten Slok, the chief economist over at Apollo Global Management, he estimates that you'd actually need to increase tariffs to 200%, essentially quadrupling prices from current levels. Another idea that the president has floated.
It doesn't work. It can't work, but that hasn't stopped Trump from tossing it to his base as economic red meat. The problem is, it's rotten on arrival. Here's where it all collapses. In brutal mathematical clarity, when asked to fact check the president's bold tariff claim, CNN's Matt Agin didn't mince words.
Calling them the enemy of the people. Oh, sure, because nothing says
Let's break that down. Trump claims tariffs could fund the elimination of income tax, but even at current levels, tariffs generate only a fraction of what's needed. To replace the $3 trillion in income tax revenue, you'd need to
a big one. Now look, no one likes to have a big chunk of their
That's 4 times the current rate, but it gets even worse.
$1 trillion of US imports. That's about 4 times higher than current tariffs, and that would increase prices on imports of everything from
That's not just policy suicide, it's economic arson. Massive price hikes on cars, sneakers, toys, tech. Every imported item would skyrocket. Inflation would go through the roof, and consumer demand, it would collapse.
$1 trillion in income tax revenue in the most recent fiscal year. So in order to replace all of that, you would have to put a
So not only would prices be out of control, but you wouldn't even get the money you're chasing. It's a death spiral. And what about Trump's fallback? Just eliminate income taxes for people making under $200,000? Still no dice.
increase prices that much, it would destroy demand. So people would just stop buying some imported goods, and that would shrink the tariff revenue. So Torsten Slok, the chief economist over at Apollo Global Management, he estimates that you'd actually need to increase tariffs to 200%, essentially quadrupling prices from current levels. Another idea that the president has floated.
Bottom line, it doesn't work on any level.
But the federal government brought in $675.
That's not political spin, that's arithmetic. And Trump's plan doesn't just fall short, it detonates on impact. After all the spin, Trump's economic promises are crumbling under the weight of cold, hard numbers. And even his usual defenders can't polish this one. Look at what's happening in the real world.
Tariffs. He definitely owns when you go to a car dealership and find that something that might have cost you $40,000 6 months ago costs $55,000 and is not.
That's not relief, that's price shock. And Trump owns it.
First 90 days. Now increasingly, as we head into the middle of the year, it's his economy. He owns it. He owns eggs. He definitely owns tariffs.
Even if Trump somehow finds an off-ramp on tariffs.
Ramp here. How much damage is
The answer, a lot. And despite the bluster, there's no rescue plan in sight.
So it's sad. That's inflationary on balance. And I think his moves are going to be inflationary on balance. And inflation is
It's all talk, no deals, no math, no relief. And what are Americans left with?
numbers? People went to the ballot box and they wanted relief. And that's not what they're getting.
The numbers don't add up, the deals don't exist, and the damage is already being felt in dealerships, grocery stores, and everyday paychecks. He's betting big on economic red meat for his base, but Americans are choking on the cost. Subscribe for more reality checks and viral takedowns, because when leaders lie, we bring receipts.